Let's begin. So you walk into the store for one small thing. Ketchup. Just ketchup. And there in front of you is a wall. 40 kinds of ketchup. Organic. No sugar added. Spicy. Smoky. Fancy glass bottle. Squeeze bottle. The one your grandmother used to buy. And here's the strange part. You came in sure of yourself. And now you are standing there, slightly frozen, quietly wondering if you even know what you like anymore. That little moment of overwhelm is not a flaw in you. It is a feature of the world we built. And today, we are going to talk about why more options, past a certain point, can actually make us feel worse, not better. It has a name. It is called the paradox of choice. Here's the idea, and it goes against almost everything we are told. We grow up believing that freedom means choice, and more choice means more freedom, and more freedom means a better life. Up to a point, that is completely true. Going from no options to a few good options is a gift. But the line does not keep climbing forever. Past a certain number, every new option starts to cost us something, and the thing it costs us is peace. Picture a simple curve. As choices go from 1 to 2 to a handful, our satisfaction climbs. We feel free, we feel served. Watch the line rise. But then, somewhere up there, the line bends. It flattens, and then it gently turns down. We still have all that choice. We're just enjoying it less. More menu, less appetite. Let me make that curve real for a second, because I think we've all lived on both sides of it. Remember the first time you got to pick your own anything as a kid? One flavor of ice cream after a life of whatever was in the freezer. That was the line shooting upward. Pure joy, choice as a present. Nobody is nostalgic for the days of no options. That part of the story is true, and it stays true. A psychologist named Barry Schwartz gave this its name in his book, The Paradox of Choice. And his point was not that choice is bad. His point was that we have quietly overshot. We kept adding options long after they stopped helping, and we never noticed the moment it started to hurt. And notice how modern life keeps cranking that number up. Streaming menus with 10,000 titles, so we scroll for half an hour and watch nothing. Dating apps with an ocean of faces, so the person in front of us starts to feel like a maybe instead of a yes. Coffee orders with a dizzying number of combinations on a single chalkboard. We did not ask for all this. It just kept arriving, one helpful addition at a time, until helpful quietly became heavy. So why does it hurt? Let me give you 3 quiet little taxes that every extra option charges you, whether you notice the bill or not. The first tax is paralysis. When there are 2 roads, you pick one and go. When there are 40, you stand at the trailhead. There's a famous and much-loved story about this, the one with the jars of jam. In a fancy grocery store, researchers set up a tasting table. Sometimes they put out a small lineup of jams, just a few. Other times, they put out a big, dazzling spread, 24 of them. And here's the twist that made everyone love this study. The big display pulled a bigger crowd. More people stopped to look. But when it came time to actually buy a jar, far more people bought from the small table. The big, beautiful wall of jam drew the eye and then quietly froze the hand. Now, I want to be a good friend to you here, so let me say this gently. That jam study is beloved, and the idea is wonderfully clear. But newer research has found the effect is slippery. Sometimes it shows up strong, sometimes it does not show up at all. It seems to depend a lot on the situation, on how familiar you are with the thing, on how the options are laid out. So hold the jam as a vivid picture of an idea, not as an iron law of nature. The deeper truth still stands on its own 2 feet, and we have all felt it. When the choices pile too high, the body just sort of stops. The second tax is regret. With 2 options, if you pick one, you barely think about the other. But with 40, you are now haunted. Every single one you did not pick becomes a little ghost of a better life you might have had. You bought the smoky ketchup, and somewhere in the back of your mind is the spicy one you passed up, whispering, "Maybe I was the one." More roads not taken means more wondering, and wondering is just regret with the lights still on. The third tax is the rising bar. When you have endless options, you start to believe that somewhere out there is the perfect one, the flawless ketchup, the ideal job, the just right partner. So your standards quietly inflate, and then whatever you actually choose gets measured against a fantasy that doesn't exist. The good thing in your hand starts to feel like a compromise simply because you could imagine more. Abundance does not just give us more to choose from, it gives us more to be disappointed by. Now let me show you the money version of all of this, because this is where it stops being about groceries and starts being about your actual life. 40 ketchups is a funny little annoyance, but here's the same wall wearing a suit. Open a typical retirement plan, and you might be staring at 400 mutual funds, 400, each with its own fees and history and three-letter name that means nothing to a normal human being. Now watch what the paradox does here. Researchers who studied real retirement plans found something quietly heartbreaking. For every batch of extra fund options a plan piled on, the number of people who signed up at all actually went down. Sit with that. The extra choices did not make people richer. The extra choices made people freeze and walk away and not invest at all. They were so worried about picking wrong that they picked nothing. And nothing in a retirement account is the single most expensive choice you can make, because nothing is the one option that quietly guarantees you fall behind. The wall of funds did not set them free. It locked the door. So that is the trap. Now let me give you the way out, because there absolutely is one, and it is kinder than you think. The first move is to know which kind of chooser you are. Researchers describe two types. There's the maximizer, who needs to find the very best, who reads every review and checks every tab and cannot rest until they are sure no better option exists. And there is the satisficer. Lovely word. A satisficer decides what good enough looks like in advance and then takes the first option that clears the bar and walks away happy. Here is what surprised people. By every cold measure, maximizers often end up with slightly better outcomes, a few more dollars, a marginally better deal. But by every warm measure that actually touches a human life, satisficers are happier. They feel better about what they chose. They sleep at night. They are not haunted. The maximizer wins the spreadsheet and loses the evening. So the first gift you can give yourself is permission to satisfice. Good enough, chosen with peace, beats perfect, chosen with dread. The second move is to design fewer, better choices on purpose before the moment of decision, when you are calm. The trick is to do your choosing once up front, so you do not have to do it 40 times a day when you are tired. Pick your 2 good ketchups and stop reading the wall. Pick one solid, broad, low-cost index fund instead of auditioning 400. Set up the investment to happen automatically every month, so the decision gets made once and then quietly takes care of itself. You are not giving up control. You are spending your good judgment once, wisely, instead of leaking it in tiny, anxious drips. And here's the part I really want to land for you. Simplifying is not settling. It is not lazy, and it is not giving up on the good life. It is the move of someone who has figured out that the goal was never to hold every option. The goal was to actually choose and then to go live. A closed door is not a loss. It is the only thing that lets you walk fully through the one you opened. Think about the choices you have made that you are happiest about. The home, the person, the path. I would bet you did not get there by keeping 40 options open forever. You got there by choosing, and then by pouring yourself into that choice until it became something real. Commitment is not the enemy of a good life. Commitment is where a good life actually grows. So the next time you find yourself frozen in front of the wall, whatever your wall happens to be, take a breath. Remember that the overwhelm is the cost of abundance, not a flaw in you. Decide what good enough looks like, and then reach out, pick one, and let the rest of the wall go quiet. Because a choice you actually make will always be worth more than 100 you keep agonizing over. Pick one and go live. That's where the good stuff has been waiting for you the whole time. If something here was useful today, the best thing you can do is use it tonight in one small way. And if you'd like to keep growing with us, you're welcome in our tribe at familycreative.org. It's where we gather the tools and resources we build for people doing this on purpose, and where you can learn more, share what's working, and help someone a few steps behind you. That's the whole point. Small, steady, together. Be kind, try hard, do the work, build the family. We'll see you in the next one.